Hello and welcome to a casted game in the north, playing as the Abbasid dynasty. We've got Downfall. I think he's currently rated 27th on the ranked ladder, as far as I know, as of the 5th of November. And his opponent, down in the south, playing as the English, is tips.aoe.ttv. He is also pretty high up on the old ranked ladder. I think he's top 200, pretty sure. Very prominent streamer in the Age of Empires 4 community. So yeah, let's ride on board with his scout for a little bit, and we'll introduce the civilizations. So I'm gonna come at this cast from a beginner's point of view because I'm pretty beginnery. I'm only plat 1, so definitely no pro myself. So what can we say about the Abbasid dynasty? Obviously they'll have their House of Wisdom, which will be their tech up landmark. 4 different options for that. You've got the economic wing, the military wing, culture wing, and the trade wing. I imagine economic wing will be the one to go for here. That will give Downfall access to Fertile Crescent, which will reduce all of the economic buildings going forward, so town centres, houses, farms. Not actually sure if it counts towards the camps and the lumber camps and the mills, for example. Probably something I should look up. Maybe we'll have a look if he does go economic wing. The reason you probably wouldn't want to go military wing against the English is while the military wing gives you 2 spearmen and 2 archers, the spearmen are very quickly countered by the English if the English player does go council hall, because it will give them the archers very quickly, the longbowmen very quickly, which are a stronger version for the English of the archers. They have an extra 2 range and an extra 1 damage, possibly 1, possibly 2. We will check that once the longbowmen come out. So we do see Tips going up with the council hall. So we can probably expect a little bit of aggression coming through. Usually what the English players like to do, just get a few longbowmen out, send them straight up to your opponent's gold, perhaps their wood line, somewhere out of the TC range, somewhere over here. Tips could pick off a few workers. I imagine Downfall will pull these workers off of the gold once he has enough for his upgrades that he wants. In this case, it will be Fertile Crescent, which is 75 gold, coupled with fresh foodstuffs. So this reduces villager cost, and this reduces economy buildings by 25%. So yes, and we can see he is going up with the economic wing. Little house delete there. I think he was trying to connect this one to the House of Wisdom influence, but decided not to for some reason. I'm sure he'll reconnect it at a later date. So let's see what Tips is up to. He has just reached the feudal age, and he does have a barracks already, so he's preempting any horsemen that might come out from the Abbasid player with the spearmen. So he will already have the counter if any horsemen do come out from the Abbasid player. Very good strategy there, especially if you're going aggressive. You don't want to lose any of these longbowmen early on. If a horseman came out here now, he would be very quickly backed up by the spearmen. The longbowman would be very backed up by the spearmen. The horseman probably wouldn't be backed up by the spearmen. I think most likely the spearmen would gouge the horseman rather than backing him up. Let's see what the Abbasid's doing. So we do see the stable and archery range. So horsemen are going to be countering the longbowmen. But as we've seen, Tips already has the spearmen out. In fact, there's already one right outside the Abbasid's base. So this horseman is probably not going to get much done. No, he's getting immediately pushed off by the spearman. So nice little start there for tips on the English. Having these spearmen out at the same time as the longbowman just means any of this harassment from the horsemen, any horsemen trying to get round to the reinforcing line, can't. So no units picked off, and that's usually very, very strong against the English, is picking off their immobile units early on, the longbowmen in this case. So a little bit of harassment coming out here for tips. No worker kills yet though. Doesn't quite have the numbers of longbowmen on the front line. He's kind of just waiting back a little, building up a little force. Some more houses coming down for the Abbasid player. No stone yet, so usually with the economic wing you want to move your villagers onto stone very quickly, get that second TC down, maybe even your third TC. But I think Downfall scouted the barracks and the council. Yeah, he did so earlier on in the game, scouted these, and that just meant he knew that there was going to be heavy aggression coming in from the English player, so didn't want to risk it early on. So has built up a little army of himself. He's got 11 military out at the moment. It is less than the English, so doesn't want to take a direct fight here, just wants to delay really. As we saw, he does now have workers on the stone. He has not researched fresh foodstuffs yet. I imagine that will come down once the TC starts being constructed, but does have Fertile Crescent. Little battle happening here, sort of a back and forth. The longbowmen, I imagine, would want to pick off some of these archers, just due to their extended range. So they have 7 tiles of range, the archers have 5 tiles of range, so these longbowmen, they can get an additional volley or 2 onto those archers of the Abbasid player. Just help to whittle down the numbers, which are looking quite even at the moment. 16 military for Downfall and 20 for tips. So tips not looking for any expansions or anything just yet. Still has military population coming out, so looking to be aggressive still. A few houses coming down. A little bit of gold, so we could see a blacksmith come down, and he might want to get some of those +1 range damage just to increase the efficiency of his longbowmen, which he has got a nice mass out here now. There's 13 of these on the field. A little fight here. This is what you want to do as the English. Just pick off these single units as often as you can with your superior range from the longbowmen. Obviously it takes a bit of micro, but tips obviously very good with his micro. Not going to get a second horseman just yet, but that's the right idea, I think. We can see over here that Downfall has started an expansion, so we'll probably see he does already have the fresh foodstuffs researched, ready for when this TC finishes. There's a great spot here. He's got gold, a little wood line as well. Just means there's a sort of safe one for later on. Bit of a fight here. No losses just yet. A couple of spearmen getting very low, 1 archer going down. But the military still in Tips' favour. And obviously Downfall also has the deer here, so very strong source of food for him. And we did see Tips has started putting more and more farms in, so keeping his base nice and compact, which will help with, you know, any raids, run-bys that Downfall may want to do with his horsemen later on in the game. Can be quite strong. We mentioned before the English have a very immobile army. It is all infantry, very slow move speed. So the horsemen could loop around the map and maybe pick off some workers later on in the game. We will see. Little wall coming down on the west hand side. Does that make sense? West hand side. I guess so, maybe. Just to protect, well, possibly this deer pack if he wants even more food. Currently has 600 per minute. He's got 11 villagers on food, 17 on wood, so going quite heavy on the wood, just to support the production of the archers. We can see similar numbers coming out for the English, 16 and 15. Swap that back over to the per minute view. Now, really not much damage done. We're pushing the 11-minute mark, and Tips, being the one who is being the aggressor, I think you would have hoped for a couple of worker kills by this point. I think even if the longbowmen just sort of stand here, which is out of the range of the town centre, he could probably pick off one or two of these villagers, and that would just help bring these numbers, back to being similar. From this point forward, this TC will be producing extra villagers for the Abbasid player, and in the long term that's going to spell disaster for the English player because he will be down in economic count. So definitely would like to see some of these being picked off. Perhaps he doesn't have vision of them. Yes, he doesn't have vision. I don't know if this scout would grant him vision, but he is through this wall now, so perhaps looking to pick off some workers now. He's being run around a little bit by the Abbasid player here, faking an engage from the horseman, the spearmen being pulled back and forth, but these longbowmen have been successful in picking off a few archers, and there's actually currently quite a strong military force over the Abbasid player. More archers being picked off on the backline, and I believe that's the first villager picked off. So 12 minutes in, one villager down, 6 villagers ahead for the Abbasid player. Now he does have quite a strong horseman force. He is going to pick off this villager, which is pretty detrimental actually. This outpost would have been very strong to have. The outposts for the English, I'll just show you on here, give you the network of castles bonus. So this is a 20% increase to attack speed whilst in the influence, and the outposts for the English do supply that influence. So that would have been very strong, would have been empowering those longbowmen on the front line of the Abbasid's player base. Now, what he is doing, little horseman run by. Now, whilst there is a force back home for the English to kind of defend, they're very slow. The men-at-arms, heavily armoured, not very fast. Horsemen, light armoured, very fast. So they will be able to just push and pull the English army around, doing a little bit of damage here and there, taking out a house, maybe even a couple of houses. Might push in to get some villager kills, but what this is doing is just separating the army for Tips. He's got a few spearmen back at base, and I believe it pulled Tips's army away from the front of the Abbasid's player base. So just giving Tips more things to think about, also forces idle time for the farmers and the workers of the English, and a bit more idle time on the lumberers. It does look like he's going for a push, possibly pushing in towards this town centre. Obviously wants to take that out. There is quite a substantial worker lead building here for downfall. One battering ram pushing in. I think he doesn't have the wood for it, but often getting 2, even 3 battering rams would be better. It just exponentially speeds up how quickly you can take out this town centre. I don't know if he's going to struggle with just one battering ram. We'll see. He has managed to pick off a few workers. They were looking to move out possibly to some lumber or gold. Big fight coming in now. Bit of a surround for the horsemen on the longbowmen. There's a good amount of archers here, with 10 villagers in the town centre for the Abbasid player. He's also repairing it, so as you can see, he's out repairing the damage this battering ram is able to do. Oh, and here come the horses back from the raid on the English to just absolutely clean up this attack from Tips here. And that's a significant loss there. Obviously he's causing a little bit of idle time for these villagers, but that's his entire army that was back here, and that was, what did he get up to? About 40 population. So the military counts, which were heavily in the English players' favour, are now completely even. Both still in the feudal age. Looks like no one's looking to get to castle age just yet. I imagine the Abbasid player will possibly get there quicker, although currently 0 income on the gold, so definitely neither of these players looking to go up for castle age just yet. Looks like they'll be bashing heads in the feudal age for a time to come. It does look like Tips has decided to swap out of the spearmen and go for the men-at-arms combined with the longbowmen. Now, this is great for absorbing damage from the archers, but the Abbasid player, his army consists mainly of horsemen at the moment, so interesting choice here. We'll see how these men-at-arms play out going forward. A huge influx of food for the Abbasid player. I imagine from the deer, he is transitioning over to farms a little, and he did move out onto this western deer pack and these bushes, so he is looking at going up into the castle age quite a lot earlier than the English player, and again just pulling the English player's army around. He is losing a few units, as we can see here, doing this, but it just means he can tech up in the background. He can keep pumping out those workers, increasing his villager lead without producing any more military. It just allows him to, push and pull the English around with the superior speed of the horseman. Not particularly doing any real damage, has only killed 2 workers during the game. But yeah, he will be up into the castle age in the next 40 seconds. So that's good. We're just going to follow these horsemen around for a little bit. There's not too much else happening. There are some workers moving over on this east flank though. Looks like they're coming down to secure some more food. So always good, if you can take resources off the side of the map that your opponent's on, that's always good. I don't think the English would ever even go for these berry bushes, but it's a nice to have. Has been whittled down during this sort of run that these horsemen have been doing to just 7. And like we saw before, Tips has actually gone up to 36 men-at-arms. Where are they? They're over here. So he's got a bit of a staging ground over on this east flank again. Just one battering ram again. Maybe this time it'll work because the military numbers are even more in the English player's favour this time. Only the downside is the Abbasid is in castle age, so he is producing a mangonel. I think it's going to be too late to save this town centre, but once that's out, that's going to do incredible amounts of damage to the longbowmen. Not so much to the men-at-arms, and that is a hefty amount of men-at-arms for the English player. He's currently got 38 out on the field. Military upgrades coming in for both players, all 4 level 1s for the Abbasid player. Currently has level 2 of in the not insulated helm, the angled surfaces, so that's another +1 to his ranged army. Now, speaking of armies, the army for the Abbasid player is small, 32. to 75. Small but mighty. He does have this mangonel on the field. First shot coming down. It's a whiff. Lands in between two groups of enemies. And that's being taken out very quickly with doing minimal damage. So definitely not value for money there. But this English army pushing in to Downfall's base, getting a few worker kills. He's actually managed to even out the workers quite considerably. Only 6 ahead now. Despite being 21 minutes into the game, he's killed 22 workers. So looking pretty strong, and definitely a very all-in strategy here coming from the English. He's got 4 battering rams coming down. So what I would say here is the Abbasid player has the upper hand still. He's in the castle age. His units are stronger. These crossbowmen are going to be shredding through the men-at-arms because they're still the early men-at-arms. Possibly going up to castle age soon is the English player, but the army's count is deceiving, I think. You know, with this mangonel and the Ghulams, which are a beautiful unit. That's the Abbasid's version of the men-at-arms. They have a charge, double strike ability, quick strike, so second attack, so very high on the old damage output. They also have an insane amount of health. So these have 195 health. Let's compare that to a man-at-arms, early man-at-arms, 120, so 75 extra health. Obviously, once this King's Palace is finished and Tips is able to get the upgrade to the regular men-at-arms, they will have more health, but I still don't think it's quite 195. We'll see. That upgrade does come in now. So veteran, is that the veteran men-at-arms? It is. And yeah, veteran archers and regular all men-at-arms. So we'll see how much health they go up to. Bit of a stagnant period in the game. Both players just teching up, leveling up their economy. Plenty of farms now, plenty of food income for both players actually. And a second expansion to replace that first one coming out on the west side of the map. Another great spot. Gold, berries, and a little bit of wood a bit further away. Probably doesn't need to rebuild this one. He's lost a lot of things around here. A few useless dead farms and things. But going back to these men-at-arms, so 155, so still 40 less health per men-at-arms, which is a lot. You also have to consider there are currently 0 crossbowmen on the field for the English player, whereas the Abbasid player is going to have 20 plus very shortly. And despite the sheer numbers of men-at-arms, the Ghulams are just going to be alive for so long. You know, and that's some big mangonel hits. The flying mangonels on the back line. That's reduced a lot of these longbows to less than half health. 2 mangonels coming out, another shot. That one misses. But just look at these Ghulams. Just nothing happening to them. There really isn't any damage. Certainly not enough damage coming out on this front line. And these mangonels are just shredding through the army. Apologies if that is a little loud on the zoom in. We'll see. Maybe I can fix it in post. It might be fine. But that's another complete army cleanup for the Abbasid player. And the English on full retreat now. Economy still even, 82 to 80. So the English player's done very well in that regard. Really limiting the power any extra town centres could give the Abbasid player. But Downfall looking strong here, both in Castle Age, but the army, I feel, for Downfall is just far stronger to deal with the opponent's army at this point. Nice even numbers of Ghulams and crossbowmen. the Ghulams for tank, to just, tank up a load of damage, and also shred through any crossbowmen or longbowmen that they can get to. A few more crossbows coming out now. Tips will be up to 18 very shortly. Still doesn't quite rival the numbers that the Abbasid player has, and sort of equal on the military upgrades. Another fight on the front line now. He needs some siege, I think, does Tips. A couple of mangonels of his own to help deal with this large crossbow mass coming out for downfall. The mangonels have made their way up to the front line now, so this is looking pretty dangerous. These military numbers are not very strong for downfall. For Tips. Downfall looking very strong. Big mangonel hits coming in. Nice spread out of the units for Tips. But Springald coming out to help deal with the mangonel. Probably too little too late. 57 to 24 on the old military count. 160 to 110 total population. So, it's going to be a tricky hold for Tips here. It's going to lose this siege. Workshop has lost a couple of other production buildings on the front line. We'll need to produce some more on the back line, but that takes wood away. So that takes wood from producing more crossbowmen, producing his own siege as well. So all these little things, they add up. Big army now on the outskirts of the English base. For the Abbasid player, 2 mangonels, another one coming out on the field. Plenty of Ghulams, 33 crossbowmen now. So any men-at-arms that Tips produces are just going to get shredded. I don't even know how many men-at-arms you'd need to deal with this amount of crossbowmen. I think it's probably no men-at-arms. It's about 4 mangonels. That's what's going to save Tips here, I think. And unless he can pull 4 mangonels out of thin air within the next sort of 20 seconds, I think this could be game. For downfall, we will see. Pushing into the English base now. Mangonel hits, completely cleaning up this English army. He does still have 35 military populations somewhere on the field. It's certainly not on this front line though. I'm not too sure. I guess maybe garrisoned in the buildings. The battering rams now working on the council hall. He is well and truly into the English opponent's base, and Tips calls the game. So, what a game. Very intense action, back and forth, nice long feudal age there. Well, that was a game. That was one of the, I think that was the 3rd game I've ever casted. So it's probably going to be pretty rough. But if you've somehow stuck around this long, just let me know. Let me know what the worst part was. That would be good. That would be great going forwards. I can just increase whatever you guys hated most about the cast. Do more of that. That'd be good. Obviously, going to try and improve going forwards. And just thanks for sticking around. Let me know anything in the comments below. Good bits, bad bits. And hopefully this one will go live. The other 2 that I recorded were not good. A few hiccups in recording, audio. I'm sure there will still be some in this one, but hopefully this is the one. This will be the first one to go live. We'll see. Man, casting is intense though. Definitely going to bring you some more though over the next few days. I'm hoping to do a couple every week, just improve my general casting ability and also video editing and all that jazz. But yeah, thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.